Hello, folks. This is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. I have a video today taken from an experience I had at the movie theater. The title of the video is a Narcissistic Abuse Syndrome Character Study, The Girl on the Train. I think that there should be a new movie rating. There's R, there's PG. I think there should be a complex PTSD movie rating so that you know what you're getting yourself into. Because I thought The Girl on the Train was about a girl on a train. I didn't know it was a character study of three women experiencing narcissistic abuse syndrome and a really wicked, nasty, malignant narcissist man. So I was caught unawares, and I was really triggered by several things. One was by the initial, when I use the word victim, you guys all know I don't really believe in victims, but in this case, I'm identifying somebody who's gone through narcissistic abuse horrifically. I, of course, don't believe in victims because I know that we allow these people into our lives for our own unconscious reasons of reenacting the wounds of our childhood. But this particular woman, the character in the movie, her name was Rachel Watson, and she was played by Emily Blunt. And she just played shattered so powerfully, so real. And as I saw her stumbling through the first parts of the movie, well, really just about the whole movie, I was just startled with the intensity of the shattering that she had experienced. And it reminded me of me the first 6 months. And then the other thing that triggered me, the third woman, the narcissistic malignant man, was grooming as the future wife, was, I think, borderline, who was a sexual addict and relationship addict, and was just, didn't have sexual boundaries. And it reminded me of, my former relationship with Betsy. So I got so triggered, I thought, wow, what a intriguing character study, because in this one movie you have the shattered, discarded abuse victim. You had the current wife who was just starting to wake up and smell the coffee. She just was starting to feel shattered and just starting to piece together, hey, something ain't right here. I think this guy's lying to me. And then the third player, the one that was being groomed and the new source of narcissistic supply, they were all right there in the movie. So I just thought I would do a character study. In the movie, the narcissist, the character's name was Tom Watson, and the actor's name is Justin Theroux. And, he wasn't played by a super hunk, super sexy guy. He was good looking. And they presented him throughout most of the beginning of the movie as being empathetic and a good guy, good old Tom. But we found out later Tom wasn't so good. What bothers me is here was this obvious study on narcissism and psychopaths and narcissistic abuse victims, and none of those terms were used throughout the movie. He was just a bad guy. He was just a murderer, and a guy who had affairs and told lies. And it was just, to me, such an opportunity to educate the public. So I guess that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so let me start with the main character in the movie, Rachel Wilson, played by Emily Blunt. And I'm going to share 12 observations about her character in the movie. Like I said, she played the former wife, the discarded, the disgraced, the shattered. So number one, she was shattered into a million pieces. This narcissist had strip-mined her, taken the home, and taken the friends, and taken her reputation, due to the shock of being replaced and all of the mind fucking that went on. She was just a mess. She was a walking zombie. The second thing is she had an incorrect diagnosis, because everybody who would look at her, and everybody, probably even in the movie, we thought what was being, I didn't think, but a lot of people would think that she was just an alcoholic, because all through the beginning part of the movie, she was drinking a lot and just having blackouts and losing a job. And so we thought, oh, she was an alcoholic, she drank too much, her husband felt abandoned, and he had an affair. We can't blame poor Tom because Rachel's an alcoholic. That was the storyline. But in reality, the correct diagnosis was narcissistic abuse syndrome, that she had gotten involved with an evil, malignant narcissist who had mind-fucked her into oblivion, and the alcoholism was more of a symptom of her complex PTSD symptoms. You know, it's so vitally important that you have a correct paradigm, that you have a correct GPS system in your car. If your GPS system is half wrong, you're going to be lost quite a bit. So in the movie, the third woman, the third victim, who, what was her name? Her name was Megan Hipwell, played by Halle Bennett. She went to a therapist, and this woman was a borderline, and she was needy, and she was beautiful, and she was sexy, and I don't think he had sex with her, but she really sort of pressed the boundaries, and he did keep the boundaries up, sort of. I think there was some kissing that went on, some hugging. But my point is, as she described the man that she was involved with, the therapist, he misunderstood. He was scapegoating this Megan Hipwell's husband, Scott, because Scott was being narcissistically abused by his wife, Megan. And Megan goes in and she tries to seduce the therapist, and she talks about Scott's jealousy. Scott was jealous because Megan was screwing half the town and not hiding it. So if the therapist would have understood narcissistic abuse, he would have realized that the man that Megan was involved with, who made her pregnant, was a very dangerous man who probably was going to take her life. He could have saved her life if he would have supplied her with a correct diagnosis. But because he was aligned with the client and was vilifying the spouse, then he missed the monster who was about ready to murder Megan, who was right in front of his face. This happened to me when my former fiancée Betsy went to the Bridge to Recovery. back in May of 2015, where she presented herself as a abuse victim, and they said, "Oh, that guy, he's jealous and controlling. You're not a narcissist or a borderline or a cheater. You're a victim." And it did her a grave disservice, and it did me a grave disservice. So again, I want to say, don't anybody go to the Bridge to Recovery, because they're aiders and abettors of narcissistic abusers. So the third thing about Rachel Watson in this movie is everybody thought she was crazy. Do you ever feel that way? You newly shattered people? Do you ever feel like everybody thinks you're crazy? She was discredited. She lost her job. She wasn't believed. When somebody mind fucks the shit out of you, and you go into having trauma, you're going to look like the crazy one. And if their mask is still on, they're going to look like the sane one. So yeah, she lost everything. He strip mined her of the house. She lost her job. She lost her marriage. She lost her social status. And she turned to alcohol. I can't imagine what it would be like to be an active alcoholic in the middle of complex PTSD. What a mess. I can't imagine. I saw it in the movie. It was a train wreck. No pun. I guess there was a pun intended. Number 7, she thought she was crazy. It's one thing when everybody else thinks you're crazy and you know you're not. It's a whole nother thing when you sort of think you're crazy too, which is almost always the case. So many of us don't become alcoholics, but we might become food addicts, or we might jump into a new relationship because we're a relationship addict, or we might try to numb out our pain by being a workaholic. So let's not judge the character in the movie too much for turning to alcohol, because we have our addictions as well. Hers was just one that discredited her all the further. Number 7, the character gained weight and she was no longer seen as attractive. I think the makeup people and the people that provided the costumes had to go a ways to make Emily Blunt look not attractive. You know, she was supposed to be plain and heavy and not attractive. And then there were 2 blondes that were supposed to be beautiful and sexy. And the truth is, Emily Blunt, I think, is far more attractive than the 2 blondes, but that's just me. But that's what happens when you're depressed, is you stop taking care of yourself. You may not take care of your hair as much. I don't have to worry about that. You may gain weight. Before I was shattered, my weight had gone up to about 280, and Betsy she'd say, "You're a big fat whale. Nobody would want you." But I really think that I was medicating with food, because I've been 6.5 years in the middle of a vortex of a monster who just fed me lie after lie after lie. I'm not saying I was victimized, but I was traumatized. So number 8, this character, Rachel Watson, was severely traumatized with all the lies. Just lie after lie after lie after lie. And if you black out as an alcoholic, you don't remember, and then he would tell her what happened. So it's one thing to be mind fucked, but if your mind erases things and then it's replaced by monsters' lies, you're in deep trouble. So Rachel Watson had a horrifically tortured life. And when I hear about the lives that many of you have, you've lost jobs, you don't have health insurance, you don't have a place to stay hardly, you can't afford therapy. It's horrific. you have other health problems. Myself, I certainly did have a tortured life for those 6.5 years and really for the past year and a half. But now I really feel like I'm thriving. Everything is coming together, and I'm not involved with a narcissist, and my life is organized, and the practice is exploding, and I just feel good. I still get triggered when I go to narcissistic abuse movies, but there is a place where you don't have to have a tortured life. At the end of the movie, the person who is discredited, who is seen as crazy, she was the only one who could figure it out. And isn't that the truth about many of us? It's like we have all these supposed experts out there who are misperceiving and misdiagnosing the narcissist, and we're the ones who are laying out the truth. And in this case, at the end of the movie, she was vindicated as being correct, right, and many of her symptoms are a result of the narcissistic abuse. This character was brave and courageous, as many of us are. Almost all of us are, who face this. And number 12, once this guy was dispatched and her mind was corrected, she began to thrive. And it didn't go on and tell about her life, but I'm pretty sure she quit drinking. Well, they did say that she had quit drinking, but I'm sure she got a job in public relations and got her health back, lost a little weight, got into a healthy relationship, and lived happily ever after. So the second character her name was Anna Boyd, played by the actress Rebecca Ferguson, and she was the current wife, and she was in denial. She was just trying to check his email addresses, but her relationship started as an affair. If he'll cheat with you, he'll cheat on you, is the saying. And so he was a predator. She was vulnerable. They connected in an addictive fashion, and karma came around, bit her on the ass. She didn't realize how much she was being lied to. But she just was beginning to be freshly shattered. And at the end of the movie, there's this shocking scene where there's some very raw vengeance. I won't tell you what it is, but it's really bloody and it's shocking. And the raw vengeance didn't come from the woman who had been shattered for years. It came from the freshly shattered current wife. And she was ambivalent about keeping her denial because she didn't want to lose her lifestyle. She had a child with this man, and so she was invested in being in denial. And then the last character, Megan Hipwell, played by Haley Bennett, was the newly triangled in, fresh source of narcissistic supply, being groomed affair partner. So he was having an affair with a woman down the street, and then he hires her as a nanny. And then the mother is off, at a exercise class and lunch with her friends, and Tom and Megan are ignoring the little baby and, screwing all over the house in the guise that she's the nanny. God only knows what takes place, folks. I know that Betsy had her narcissist in my home when I was really shattered. I was looking through my drawers, and this guy kept shirts in the drawers, in my drawers. I found 2 of his shirts. He ripped off the shirts right around here. That was his style. I saw it on Facebook, and there were 2 shirts like that I'd never seen before, and they were sort of like, I don't know, hillbilly type shirts I wouldn't wear. They were his shirts. He was coming to my house. God only knows the evil that takes place behind our backs as we are naive and not knowing who we're dealing with. So Megan had no clue as to the danger that she was in, and she trusted somebody who was capable of murder. But the thing that made her vulnerable was her own borderline personality disorder, her sexual addiction, and her relationship addiction. And he was using her for narcissistic supply, and she was using him for narcissistic supply. And her husband, Scott, looked like the crazy one. And when she turned up dead, they thought the husband did it, because he was being mind-fucked too. He knew she was cheating, and he knew he was being lied to, but he just didn't have any answers. So if you're freshly shattered, I would recommend you not see the movie The Girl on the Train. It'll fry your brain. It's a very, very powerful movie, especially the depiction by Emily Blunt of a long-term, chronically shattered, broken, complex PTSD alcoholic who just walking around like a broken zombie. And it's just so powerful how he could look like Prince Charming and she looks like a zombie, and you think she's the bad guy. And you know what? Eventually the truth comes out, and these monsters are unmasked, and people know who they are, and they get theirs. In the movie, this guy got his. So that was cool. It was shocking. It was traumatizing. I was like, no way. So it was an excellent movie. If your shattering is a year and a half, 2 years ago or longer, and you'd like to see a really interesting character study on the various stages of narcissistic abuse, then go see the movie. What I did was, after I saw it and I was all traumatized, I had actually had it on audio, and I'd already had it, and I started listening to it, and I didn't ever finish. I barely began it, and I went through and listened to it again so that I could aid my character study of these very interesting characters. So, super movie. Wish they'd have given it the right labels so that our culture would know what's going on. I'm going to go watch some football. It's a beautiful Sunday. I've got my Christmas decorations up. I've got all my chores done. I'm a blessed man. It's nice to thrive out from the shadow of scary-ass borderline conniving women. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel, I would encourage you to subscribe to us. Also, I've got some really excellent books on abandonment and shame, and on affair recovery, and on marital issues, and I have some longer, more intensive videos at familytreecounseling.com. Also, if you would like to work with me or with anybody on the staff via Skype, it works like magic. See how clear I'm coming in right now on your phone screen or on your computer screen? That's how clear a Skype session is. And I'm available. I'm expensive. I'm not super duper expensive, but we do have people on the staff who have much lower fees, who can work with you and help you and support you through this and give you the correct GPS system so you're not lost and shattered and discredited, but rather you're empowered so that someday you can thrive. Have a wonderful day. God bless.